Mangwanani Mwalelepo Vukenjani Tekwaswanawe Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening in the SADC region and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Aurelia Samuyenga.
Today is Own Business Day. Own businesses make our lives more vibrant because they're making everyone happy. With their ideas and ideals, they bring new services, offers, light, or even perspective to our neighborhoods. In celebration of Own Business Day, we have a video for you.
Is there a difference between heaven and hell? That man depends upon where your soul dwell. With the heart of a lion, so I must rebel. Listen up, cause dogs can get a story to tell. Stay strong. Without no love, there's no love at all. Stay strong. Stay strong. Stay strong.
Today is Tuesday, the 12th of October, and these are the stories making today's headlines. Botswana institutes legal action against Chobe's killer soldiers. Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, says the authorities in Botswana have instituted legal proceedings against the soldiers implicated in the brutal killing of the three Nchindo brothers and their Zambian relative by the Botswana Defense Force alongside the Chobe River last year. She made these remarks in the National Assembly last week, responding to questions regarding the safety of Namibians living alongside the border between Namibia and Botswana. Last month, Nandi-Ndaitwah and officials from Botswana visited Kasana, which is one of the areas where civilians and the BDF have had violent confrontations in recent years. After the visit, the minister said the two countries agreed to escalate negotiations on the safety and security of civilians alongside the border to a bi-national commission to be chaired by the heads of state.
Gas explosion kills 6 Chinese nationals at Zimbabwe mine. 6 Chinese nationals and 2 Zimbabweans have been killed in gas explosions at a nickel mine in northern Zimbabwe, a lawmaker said on Friday. The incident involved oxygen tanks that exploded at the mine in the Mazowe area, around 40 kilometers northeast of the capital, Harare. We confirm that 6 foreigners died, said police spokesperson Paul Nyati told AFP, adding investigations were underway. But a local MP said the death toll was 8, including 2 Zimbabweans in 2 accidents that occurred on Thursday and Friday. There were 2 explosions on 2 different days, local lawmaker Fortune Chassi told AFP on the phone after returning from the scene. On Thursday night, an oxygen tank blew up as Chinese employees were working on it, he said. The following day, a 21-year-old Zimbabwean worker was killed as he tried to open an oxygen tank and it just blew up, Chassi said.
NATO studying options to bolster Africa anti-jihadist force, UN. NATO is studying options to bolster support for the multinational G5 Sahel force in the troubled 3-border region of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, where a surge in jihadist violence has cost thousands of lives, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said in a letter seen by AFP on Thursday. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization could extend such support through its Support and Procurement Agency, the UN chief said in a recent letter to the Security Council. In June, U.S. Deputy Ambassador to the UN, Jeffrey De Laurentiis, said his country wanted to maintain a clear separation between efforts to fight terrorism and efforts to maintain peace in order to protect the UN's neutrality. The creation of the G5 Sahel Joint Force, despite the persisting challenges, is a strong manifestation of political will by the 5 core states of the Sahel that merits the support of the international community, Guterres said. While all interlocutors underscored their strong support to the G5 Sahel Joint Force as an exceptional initiative that warranted international support, there is no convergence of views within the international community on how best to support it, the UN chief added.
Terrorist leader killed, Nyusi announces. Mozambican President Filipe Nyusi declared on Thursday that the defense and security forces have killed a man he described as an influential leader of the terrorist groups operating in the northern province of Cabo Delgado. Speaking at the close of a course for police special forces at the Mackenzie Special Forces Training School in Maluana, Maputo province, Nyusi named the terrorist leader as Muhammadu and said he had been involved in the 2019 massacre of 51 young men in Sitahi village, Muidumbe district. The youths were murdered because they refused to join the ranks of the terrorists. I said in Pretoria at Tuesday's extraordinary summit of the SADC Defense and Security Troika, and again in Maputo, that the successes our colleagues are enjoying on the ground must be consolidated. And that's what's happening, said Nyusi. The terrorist group tried to escape from the action of our forces, Raphael added, but they did not all make it. It was Mahmudu and his companion named Abdulaim who in 2019 murdered 51 young people in Sitahi village. Abdulaim was killed in a clash with our forces in late 2020, and on Wednesday it was the turn of this influential terrorist.
Over 95.7 million vaccinations administered across the African continent. As of 11 October, confirmed cases of COVID-19 from 55 African countries reached 8,389,012, while over 95,763,535 vaccinations have been administered across the continent. Reported deaths in Africa reached 213,913, and 7,714,444 people have recovered. South Africa has the most reported cases with 2,912,145, and 88,317 people have died. Other most affected countries are Morocco, Tunisia, Ethiopia, Libya, Egypt, and Kenya. The numbers are compiled by the Center for Systems Science and Engineering at Johns Hopkins University, using statistics from the World Health Organization and other international institutions, as well as national and regional public health departments.
Global mental health targets missed in 2020. Access remains unequal in Africa. The COVID-19 pandemic has shone a spotlight on global inequalities and mental health care. However, a new report has found that many countries worldwide have failed to provide people with the mental health services they need. The World Health Organization released a report leading up to World Mental Health Day, which was celebrated on Sunday, 10th October, that showed a number of mental health targets were not close to being achieved. Director General of the WHO, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, said the report should be a wake-up call to dramatically accelerate the scale-up of investment in mental health. Meanwhile, UNICEF highlighted the need for increased investment and access to mental health prevention and response services on the African continent. UNICEF Regional Director for Eastern and Southern Africa, Mohammed Fall, said children and adolescents are at risk of developing mental health problems, especially vulnerable children facing poverty, discrimination, and violence. In order to respond to this growing crisis, UNICEF and the WHO committed to a 10-year joint program on mental health and psychosocial well-being and development of children and adolescents in Africa.
Now in our next story, late widow of Mandela, Graça Machel, urges end to violence against South African women. Graça Machel, the activist, advocate, and Nelson Mandela's wife, has encouraged South Africans to end the cycle of violence against women and girls. She was making a speech to commemorate Nobel Peace Prize laureate and anti-apartheid icon Desmond Tutu's 90th birthday. In a message to South Africans, she added, "Violence is the breast milk we give our children," and asked them to honor and preserve Desmond Tutu's legacy by establishing partnerships based on respect and fairness. She mentioned the country's high rate of adolescent pregnancy. More has to be done, she added, to detect and prosecute rape, sexual coercion, and abuse, as well as incest.
Moving on to DRC, Ebola resurfaces in North Kivu. The Minister of Health, Jean-Jacques Mbungani, announced the resurgence of the Ebola epidemic in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. According to the statement of the Minister of Health, this is a case that has been identified in the territory of Beni in North Kivu. The new Democratic Republic of Congo, our country, has just recorded a new case of Ebola virus on 8 October 2021, declared Jean-Jacques Mbungani. The letter explains that this case concerns a 3-year-old male child hospitalized and died on 6 October in a local health establishment in a hemorrhage picture, following which a sample was taken the next day by the team of the Civil Protection of Beni. A sample which turned out to be positive for the Ebola virus Notes the minister, he at the same time announced the response activities, among others, the listing and follow-up of about 100 contacts to date and the decontamination of health facilities. At the beginning of May 2021, the government declared the end of the 12th epidemic of the Ebola virus in the DRC. A total of 12 cases had been recorded, including a probable case with 6 deaths and hundreds of people vaccinated since the last reappearance of the epidemic on February 7th in Butembo, still in North Kivu.
Now in Lesotho, according to MISA, press freedom is under attack. The Media Institute of Southern Africa, Lesotho, says press freedom in the country is under threat. This after the government drafted laws which affect the operations of the media without consulting stakeholders in the media for their input. Addressing journalists in Maseru, Mr. Thoana said ignoring the media in the drafting of laws which affect their operations suggested that the government has a sinister agenda to repress the sector. Media privacy will be threatened by this requirement since journalists' conversations with whistleblowers will be made available to the government without prior permission from the courts of law. News sources will no longer be free to talk to the media as their covers will be blown. We are not against the proposed laws. We just want the regulations to be crafted in good faith and not be used to target the media, Mr. Thoana said. He said MISA Lesotho was ready to provide its inputs to the regulations.
And Lubulini High School pupils pelt parents and teachers with stones. Parents of pupils at Lubulini High School were left shocked after their children embarked on a walkout protest during a meeting meant to discuss their grievances. The drama unfolded on Friday after the chairperson of the school committee refused to entertain the demand for the administration to allow girls to plait or wear braided hair extensions. Witnesses said the meeting started on a positive note and the parties appeared to be making headways until the school committee chairperson touched a raw nerve by refusing to entertain the issue of allowing girls to wear their preferred hairstyles. The disgruntled pupils questioned how their hairstyles affected or impacted on their schoolwork. Parents who attended the meeting could not be spared from the wrath of the irate pupils, as they also found themselves caught in the crossfire. The pupils threw the stones while on their way towards the school gate while singing struggle songs. The protest spread out to the nearby main road servicing the area, where the pupils used whatever they could lay their hands on to obstruct the traffic. Tear gas canisters were reportedly fired by the police to disperse the protesting learners.
Pedocriminality within the church. I am ashamed, says Pope Francis. After having expressed his immense sorrow, the sovereign pontiff expressed his shame following the publication of a damning report on child criminality within the Church of France. I wish to express to the victims my sadness, my pain for the trauma suffered, and also my shame, our shame, my shame for the Church's too long inability to put them at the center of its concerns. He said during the general audience, I pray and let us all pray together to you, Lord, the glory to us, shame. It is the moment of shame, insisted the Argentine Pope. An independent commission which investigated the extent of child crime in the Catholic Church of France released its damning findings on Tuesday, estimating at 216,000 the number of children and adolescents victims of clerics and religious since 1950. The Pope called on religious leaders to continue all their efforts so that such tragedies do not happen again. Referring to a hard but salutary trial, he called French Catholics to assume their responsibilities so that the church is a safe home for all.
And finally, we head over to Cameroon, when corruption sabotages the ban on plastic packaging. Plastic packaging with a thickness of less than 60 microns continue to circulate on the Cameroonian market, despite the ban that came into force in 2014. In a press release published on 6 October 2021, Greenpeace asked the Cameroonian authorities to double their efforts to reduce this type of plastic packaging, whose use has harmful consequences on the environment. The Cameroonian government has just destroyed 42 tons of non-biodegradable plastics in Garao in the northern region. For the environmental non-governmental organization, it is corruption that maintains the presence of plastic packaging on the Cameroonian market despite their ban. In a recent release, the NGO says it does not understand how this type of plastic packaging can continue to circulate in Cameroon nearly 8 years after its ban in the Central African country. Non-biodegradable plastic packaging is harmful to the environment. After their use, they are unfortunately thrown away at every corner.
All right, that brings us to the end of our top stories. After the break, we're going to be talking about the University of Namibia, which has been ranked #1 in Namibia and is in the top 100 universities of Africa. Stick around.
Strike it gold and win 5,000 Namibian dollars in cash with Neo Paints. Simply buy Neo Paints products from the selected range and stand a chance to get one of 12 mystery buckets filled with gold paint. All 12 winners will each get 3 extra paint buckets equal to their purchase. One to replace the gold paint, the second to use on your project, and the third to give to a charity of their choice. One winner can score another 10,000 Namibian dollars by showing us your creative use of the golden paint. The best project wins the cash. Offer is valid from 27 September to 18 December at your favorite hardware store nationwide. Visit us at neopaints.com for more competition details and follow us on Facebook for weekly competition updates. Neo Paints, a coat of excellence.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, the University of Namibia has been ranked as the #1 university in Namibia and is part of the top 100 universities in Africa. Johannes Haufiku, Acting Director, Corporate Engagement and International Relations, visits us in the studio. Good morning, Mr. Haufiku. How are you?
Good morning, Ashwin. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you. Now, UNAM has been ranked as one of the top universities in Africa. Could you share what the survey entailed, the requirements, status, etc., used to determine top universities, as you know, how UNAM fared in this?
Yeah, well, I'll just thank you for that, Ashwin. I'll just start by saying that the rankings of university is actually quite a multi-type of approach. There isn't one institution that is responsible for it. You've got different ranking indexes looking at very, very different things. So in this case, the University of Namibia has been ranked across a number of different ranking systems in different positions. Though generally positive, some of them look at search engine optimization in terms of how does a university's traffic look like. Some look at, which is what we prefer, more at the output of peer-reviewed journals and articles. So that's really the important thing, so that's where the research happens. But the important thing I want to mention is that at the end of the day, these are highly circumspect type of rankings. None of these rankings ever come to the university and look at the labs, the student experience, the job security, the career progression. So ultimately, while we appreciate and love these rankings, the true value of a university degree or a diploma can truly only be measured by the enriched experience that our students get. And they are in the best position to say how the University of Namibia performs.
Truly, truly. Now, of course, one of the biggest challenges for any university around the world was adapting to COVID-19. How did UNAM adapt its teaching methods?
Well, we had to move online almost immediately. The good thing is for a majority of our students, they already had some kind of exposure as some of our courses were already online. However, we are not prepared for such a massive transfer by changing all courses to go online. Some of the teachers were not, lecturers were not prepared for this, but we within a month to two, we're able to train everyone and actually transition to online. Of course, there were challenges, but I think we're one of the first and the largest institution in the country to successfully do so.
All right. Now, as well as the Namibian news cycle, Africa Good Morning likes to also talk about, what's happening with Africans outside of Namibia and Africans in Namibia. So how many foreign students does the university have, and from which countries are these students? Is it mainly from SADC, and are there specific degrees or courses which are deemed more popular?
Yeah. Well, I don't have the exact statistics as we speak, but I can tell you with certainty that we get about 10 to 15% of our student population from outside Namibia, and predominantly SADC, yes. Zimbabwe is number one, followed by Zambia and usually Botswana, and then Malawi, Angola, and other countries. But we do get from the rest of Africa as well. In recent times, which was not the norm in the past, we have received a high increase in terms of demand from South African students, specifically for our medical courses, as well as veterinary medicine. So there are some preferences for international students, but China, the US, and India are also quite popular interest areas where the University of Namibia draws students from, but those account for about less than 4% of the total student population.
All right, now that's interesting. As a Zimbabwean who also started at the university, I can definitely,
testament to
that, right? Yeah. All right, so does the university have special incentives though for foreign students, bursaries, help with visas, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now we appreciate that, foreign students face a lot of uncertainty and novelty when they come to Namibia. So they're given first preference for residents on campus, especially at the main campus and some of the campuses where we do have residents. Where we do not have residents, the Office of the Dean of Students would normally help place those students in safe and secure and in close proximity to the university, private arrangements. We also help process their visas. All of those are handled by the university on behalf of the foreign students. They don't have to run around to home affairs. All of that is centrally handled at the university.
Absolutely. Now, before we sign out, could you just give a short word to prospective students there? I was at UNAM. I could say a whole world about it, positive things, of course. But is there anything you'd like to say to prospective students in Namibia and around the SADC region?
Well, there's a lot of universities in the country. But when it comes to impact in terms of how quickly you move up the organization, how useful your skills are, even if you don't graduate, we've got lots of entrepreneurs who are dropouts from the university. It's undisputed that the University of Namibia is the best. So make the right choice. Our applications are open until the 22nd of November. So please go ahead and apply.
All right. And sorry, do you know by any chance when the next ranking will be done?
Well, this is done annually, and different ranking systems have a different cycle. But typically, sometime this year, next year, we will hear the next results.
All right, I love that. He said prioritize impact. If you care about impact, go to UNAM. Thank you very much, Johannes, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashwin.
All right, so we're just talking to Johannes Haufiku, the Acting Director, Corporate Engagement and International Relations at University of Namibia. This is Africa Good Morning. More after the break. Africa Good Morning is your reliable source for decentralized African news. Keeping that in mind, we're going to take a trip to Zimbabwe and have a chat with Talent Gore so she can give us the news on the ground. Talent, Mangwanani.
Mamkase.
Tamuka hedu. All right, let's get straight into your first story. Harare has sadly lost 125 firefighters in less than a year. Could you please get into that?
Well, Harare City Council has been hard hit by a shortage of employers after 125 of firefighters at the Harare fire station left the country for greener pastures. The Harare City Council has said that the firefighters left the country for greener pastures due to poor working conditions. The local authority also said that it is currently failing to provide efficient healthcare services following an exodus of workers to the diaspora due to poor remuneration, among other work-related concerns. They also said that its capacity to provide efficient service delivery was being affected by the brain drain that they are currently facing. Apparently, it's not only firefighters who have left the local authority. We have seen that health workers, doctors and nurses, they have also left the local authority for greener pastures in other countries. The brain drain is currently caused by poor remuneration and poor working conditions, and the local authorities say that the firefighters left the country destined mainly for the Middle East.
Now, Talent, the World Health Organization Zimbabwe warns of catastrophic COVID-19 fourth wave. What's that about?
So the World Health Organization Zimbabwe has warned that the country might face a fourth wave of the COVID-19 after Zimbabwe opened up after they relaxed the COVID-19 lockdown. We've seen that the Zimbabwean population is at risk of being affected by the fourth wave because Harare province has become a hive of activity, which exposes its population to greater risk of being affected by the virus. We've seen that people are now being complacent. They are no longer following the COVID-19 guidelines, the COVID-19 protocols, and they are at risk of falling into the fourth wave. We're seeing that people are no longer wearing their mask, they are no longer social distancing, and it is business as usual in Harare, to be precise. We've seen that people are just going about their businesses. They are acting as if there is no more COVID-19 in the country. So the World Health Organization has warned that we might be facing a fourth wave. We might face a fourth wave of the COVID-19 in December if we continue with what we are doing at the moment. So they say that we should continue social distancing, we should continue wearing our mask, and we should continue washing our hands.
All right, Talent. Now, former Health Minister Obadiah Moyo has been acquitted of corruption in Zimbabwe. Could you please tell us about the story?
Former Health Minister Obadiah Moyo, who was accused of corruption and criminal abuse of office, has been acquitted by the High Court of Zimbabwe. The state found out that the charges that were leveled against him, they found that they were not true, and they said that the former minister is now a free man after the state found out that the charges against him, they were not clear. They were not clear. So Minister Moyo was arrested and charged with criminal abuse of office over the awarding of a $60 million contract to a company that allegedly sold supplies to the government at inflated prices. The former minister was then sacked by the president in July this year, and he has since been acquitted by the High Court, citing that the charges that were leveled against him were not clear. So as it stands, the former minister is now a free man.
All right, Talent, thank you very much for bringing us the news from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always good having you on Africa Good Morning. Next up, let's have a look at the weather forecast.
Tuemo Haudula reports from northern Namibia that Police Inspector General Sebastian Detunga handed over holding cells at Ongwediva Police Station in Oshana region on Friday. Detunga said this confirms the government's commitment to providing policing services to the public and also valuing the dignity of all persons, including those who are in police custody. The Ongwediva Police Holding Cells, a project which was handed over to the contractor in March last year and was completed on 30 September. These facilities comprise of 3 holding cells for both males and females and juveniles, and included an area for exercising, a dining area, a processing area, a prisoner's properties and exhibit stores, a kitchen, cold room, staff bathroom, linen store, secure drop-off area, and a medical officer's consulting room with ablution facilities were constructed at a cost of 11 million Namibian dollars. Ndetunga said despite of government's commitment to improve the working conditions of police officers and the dignity of persons in police custody, it is very disturbing to note the misuse of such facilities. Tuemo provided a video for you.
Secondly, the police holding cells in Ongwediva, and then these holding cells, in fact, police holding cells were not supposed to be bigger as they are today, due to the fact that we do not have remand prisons. Today, the police is spending money in constructing police cells, money that could be used to construct police accommodations. As you see, many of these police officers that are here, ladies and gentlemen, they spend most of their salaries in renting, and the rent is extremely expensive. Police holding cells, in other countries they call it remand prisons. They were supposed to be with correctional service, so that within 24 hours, whoever is remanded would not come back to the police. Therefore, we are today inaugurating police holding cells in Ongwediva. There are 3 cells, one for adults, one for female, and one for juveniles. And as you know, you can't detain juvenile with elders. And therefore, we made sure that those provisions of cells are made available in Ongwediva. Ongwediva, before the construction of these cells, was putting pressure to the Oshakati police cells. These police cells in Oshakati, they are overcrowded to the extent that we are even infringing in the probably basic human rights and freedoms. We have been criticized by the human rights watchdogs, including our own ombudsperson, because the cells are very overcrowded. These cells that we have constructed and inaugurating today will also alleviate, if the cells in Oshakati are overcrowded, we can take some of the trial waiting to Ongwediva just to create the necessary space for detainees. And therefore, it's a good opportunity for us to ensure that the basic human rights and dignity of those who are in the custody of the police is respected and enforced. The other issue is also a problem in our cells. Last week, I received a report that many contrabands were found in the police cells in Oshakati. Cell phone, sharp objects, drugs. One asks, how do they get in?
Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. It's time for us to get into our economic news stories for the day. And we start off in Angola, where contract with Rio Tinto is for immediate execution. The mining investment contract in the Chiri kimberlite signed between the Ministry of Mineral Resources, Oil and Gas, Ndiyama, and the Anglo-Australian multinational Rio Tinto begins to be executed immediately, with prospecting operations that last for 4 years. The information was provided by the chairman of the board of directors of Ndiyama, Ganga Junior, who confirmed a concession period of 35 years, as well as a 75% stake for the multinational and 25% for the Angolan state-owned diamond company. The contract grants the Angolan diamond company the possibility of raising its stake to 49%, with the multinational's capital falling to 51%, according to the leader of Ndiyama, who said that the company's project is to start working immediately. The Minister of Mineral Resources, Oil and Gas, Diamantino Azevedo, said, "We intend to soon reach 14 million carats per year in the production of diamonds, and we also have this project for this goal," said the minister, stressing that Angola has always chosen to work with the best companies, the best mining companies in the world, which is why Rio Tinto was sought. Diamantino Azevedo underlines that the project's gains are associated with adding value to diamonds and creating jobs for Angolan youth.
And for our next story, how to revive African tourism after the COVID-19 pandemic. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, the global tourism industry contributed $9.2 trillion or 10.4% to global GDP. It was considered one of the fastest growing industries, accounting for at least 1 in every 4 new jobs globally. Fast forward to 2021, and the pandemic has all but crippled the sector. The African region shared an estimated $83 billion in GDP contribution, down by 49.2%, and lost up to 7.2 million industry jobs compared to 2019 levels. It is critical now for African destinations to promote domestic tourism, which also paves the way for international tourism. The key will be the ability to predict the potential effects of COVID-19 on tourist behavior. National governments must harness the financial, human, and technical resources required to support the tourism recovery. Critically, governments must effectively manage both the efficient rollout of vaccination programs and the responsible reopening of the tourism economy to domestic and international tourists. Tourism service providers must innovate and adapt their tourism offerings to meet the demand for safe domestic tourism. This would kickstart the tourism sector and prepare it for international tourism.
Free Wi-Fi up for public use in Malawi. Information Minister Gospel Kazako led other officials in launching the Free Public Wi-Fi program, which is a World Bank-funded program that will see people use internet service in selected public spaces. On behalf of Government Public-Private Partnership Commission, PPPC is implementing the initiative in various public places across the country. According to Patrick Kabambe, Chief Executive Officer of PPPC, the initiative is aimed at increasing access to digital facilities in Malawi. Kabambe said so far PPPC has installed free Wi-Fi in 32 different public places, which include schools, hospitals, markets, and airports. In his remarks, Kazako said government is excited to bring digital facilities closer to the people, saying the free Wi-Fi will enable easy communication among individuals. He added that Malawi cannot develop if its people do not embrace new technologies.
Funding imbalance preventing African NGOs' effectiveness. The sustainability development of Africa's civic society sector is being challenged by an imbalance in international investment, new research has shown. The research commissioned by Vodacom, Safaricom, and Vodafone Foundation said funds meant for Africa's civic society organizations were being received by international non-governmental organizations instead of going to the intended recipients directly. The research sought to answer why local African civil society organizations were finding it hard to access global donor aid. While international donors must take concerted action to work with African CSOs more fairly and effectively, the report also called for local organizations, research institutions, and the business sector to be supportive in empowering CSOs. CSOs must also be given sufficient funding and room to develop long-term strategies so they can invest in non-program critical issues such as securing resources and improving their own financial management system, the report said. Efforts must be channeled towards building local CSOs' sustainability. In addition to giving larger grants and providing core support, donors must make conscious efforts to strengthen the capacities of CSOs, the report said.
All right, that brings us to the end of our economic news stories. You know what comes up next, economic indicators. Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. Now we're going to jump into some stories for the sports lovers and sports enthusiasts. In our first story, we are talking football as France beat Spain to win Nations League. Kylian Mbappe fired France to Nations League glory on Sunday after netting the winner, which completed a comeback from a goal down to beat Spain 2-1 in Milan. The win will ease some of the pain created by an early exit from Euro 2020 at the hands of Switzerland and highlighted just how powerful France are going forward. Les Bleus came out on top of a match at the San Siro, which came to life after Oyarzabal slid home the opener. Didier Deschamps can thank Hugo Lloris. The match didn't go into extra time after the France captain pulled off a fine stoppage time save to deny Yeremy Pino a late leveler. Earlier, Italy took third place after beating Belgium 2-1 in Turin through goals from Nicolo Barella and Domenico Berardi.
Golf and beach okayed for England cricketers on Ashen tours. England cricketers will be able to go to the beach and play golf under protocols agreed for the upcoming Ashes tour, which Cricket Australia chief Nick Hockley said on Monday was never seriously in doubt. The England and Wales Cricket Board gave conditional approval to the trip last week after months of negotiations over concerns around tough COVID-19 rules for players and their families. Hockley said both teams should be able to live normal lives in public, within reason, during the 5-test series that is due to start in Brisbane on 8 December. But Hockley said that this was merely about allocating visas along with ongoing biosecurity discussions and was adamant the Ashes was never in danger. I don't think it was ever in serious doubt, but until we all actually worked through all of the detail, we weren't able to confirm it, he said. But it's confirmed now, and I think everyone is looking forward to the cricket getting started.
All right, on some Formula One news, Verstappen demands more pace after taking lead. Max Verstappen played down his Formula One championship advantage on Sunday and said his Red Bull team needed to find more pace to fend off Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes in the last 6 races of the season. We need to find more pace because 6 points is nothing. I wish I had more pace. It's going to be tough, Verstappen told Sky Sports Television. Team boss Christian Horner agreed Red Bull had lagged in straight line speed at a circuit where Mercedes looked the quickest they have been all year. Verstappen hoped the races to come, 3 in the Americas and 3 in the Middle East, would suit his car more than Mercedes. Verstappen, who has won 7 times this year compared to Hamilton's 5, said on Thursday the outcome of this season's title fight would not change his life either way. He said after Sunday's race that Red Bull would continue to fight for the title, but that he won't be sleeping less if they were to lose out on the championship.
Ethiopia's Tura. Kenya's Chepngetich win at Chicago Marathon. Ethiopia's Saifi Tura won the men's title and reigning world champion Ruth Chepngetich of Kenya captured the women's crown in her US debut on Sunday at the 43rd Chicago Marathon. Tura, who didn't qualify for his homeland's Tokyo Olympic squad, pulled away late to take the victory in 2 hours, 6 minutes, 12 seconds, with American Galen Rupp second, with 23 seconds adrift, and Kenya's Eric third. Tura, who was 6th at Chicago in 2019, won the 2018 Shanghai and Milan titles and was 4th at Milan in May. In the women's race, Chepngetich grabbed the lead from the start and won for the 5th time in 6 marathons, defeating American runner-up Emma Bates. The race was good, but it was just not okay, Chepngetich said. I pushed alone from the 10K. The weather was nice. I believed in myself and I was fortunate, and I pushed myself. Chepngetich, 27, set a world half marathon record in April at Istanbul and her marathon best to win in Dubai. Daniel Robchuk won his 3rd consecutive Chicago Marathon men's wheelchair crown, while fellow American Tatiana McFadden took the women's title for the 9th time.
All right, very interesting. I like the way you said Tura. Gotta let out the Namibian.
I mean.
That brings us to the end of our sports news updates. After the break, your headlines. Africa Good Morning has been streaming live from 7 a.m., bringing you the news and current affairs from the SADC region and beyond. Now, if you perhaps missed our top stories at the top of the hour, or if you need a recap, worry not. Here are the headlines. Botswana institutes legal action against Chobe's killer soldiers. Gas explosions kill 6 Chinese nationals at Zimbabwe mine. NATO studying options to bolster Africa anti-jihadist force, UN. Terrorist leader killed, Nyusi announces. Contract with Rio Tinto is for immediate execution. France beat Spain to win Nations League. Those have been our stories.
Please do remember to send us your remarks via email at agm_2centsworth@nmh.com.na or post on our Facebook and Twitter pages. And remember to catch us again on oneup2.com to join NMH's live TV channel. Please don't forget to sanitize, wash your hands, wear your mask, keep your distance, and avoid unnecessary public gatherings at all costs. Only together can we beat this COVID-19 pandemic.
Absolutely. Now, from the ever so capable Aurelia Samienga and Ashwin Berry, take care. Swera Jakanaka.